Hey, what's up, guys? I want to talk about TNA quickly. A couple thoughts on TNA recently, and my thoughts on EC3, Ethan Carter III, um, being the champion in his progression. First, TNA. Um, TNA is really not doing well at all. Within just a week, not this past week, but I think like the week before, the week of their last pay per view, which was a Slammiversary. Um, they have a lot of talent has been gone. Austin Aries has not re-signed his contract with the company. He's decided not to renew his contract with the company. Um, the day of the Slammiversary pay per view, both James Storms and Magnus have left the company and decided not to work with TNA anymore. Um, I think Mickey James along as well is no longer with TNA. Awesome Kong. They got rid of Samuel Shaw. They got rid of trying to think somebody else. Samuel Shaw, Magnus. But point is that like within a week of that happening, they lost like some top talent for TNA. Some top talent, mid card talent. Um, it's just not looking good for TNA. TNA, I think, it's a dying company. It's too many holes in the ship. A lot of people are jumping ship before it crashes rock bottom. Um, and to have all of this going along with what's going on with the network, they're only 1 month left until they're with Destination America. September, they're getting the boot from that network. So TNA are really getting shot on every end, on every side. And I can honestly say that at every wrestling company we've seen as wrestling fans, um, I can honestly say TNA, looking at how they are now and how they've been doing things throughout the company's existence, TNA, I can say, is the worst wrestling company in the world. They have great talent. They've had some great matches in the company's history. But from a corporate standpoint, TNA has to be the worst wrestling company ever. Um, to me, I think ECW, was a far better company than TNA. Even though, yes, the wrestlers themselves were getting paid little to nothing, even though, yes, checks on those superstars were being bounced over, unlike TNA. TNA just has like back pay, which is still bad. Either situation is bad, whether you're late in paying your talent or you're having to bounce checks. Either situation is bad. But my God, ECW had more of a buzz and had more of a global awareness than TNA. And they didn't even have the type of money that TNA. They didn't have the type of backing that TNA has. Um, a lot of people have always compared TNA to WCW. How the people running it and connecting the dots, and you can see a little correlation between WCW and TNA. But looking at TNA now, how they are, I can't say TNA are like WCW. WCW is much better than TNA, and even in their last dying years, were still better than what TNA is now. Probably for the last 3 years, TNA. Here's why. Unlike TNA, WCW was a brand. It was a profitable brand. It did fold, but before it died, it was a profitable brand. WCW was a global brand. People knew of WCW like they knew of a WWE. People knew of an ECW like people knew of WCW and WWE. WCW, unlike TNA, had a streak and a moment of success. They did have a moment of success where they were successful, where they were bringing in the dough, when they were making compelling storylines, making superstars, even though a good chunk of their superstars came from WWE. But the fact of the matter is, they knew what to do. It wasn't until the last couple of dying years. I'm not going to go down the list of that. There's enough information out there that can tell you how WCW folded. But still, WCW had its moments of success and it being a global entity and a recognized brand. TNA has been out for how long now? 13 years, 14 years now the company has been in existence, and they are still struggling with a global identity. They are still struggling to get their brand recognized out there. They're still struggling in keeping talent and paying off talent. That's horrible. That is absolutely horrible. Ring of Honor has been out just as long as TNA. And to me, I think they have a more recognizable brand name than TNA does. Maybe not too much, but to a degree, because TNA does get more viewership compared to ROH, because they are a little bit more recognizable. But I mean, still, I mean, even if ROH gets a word of mouth, or gets a little nod to them by WWE putting up documentaries on, superstars that came from ROH, that's still more publicity than what TNA is able to get within a year. I mean, seriously. It baffles me. And again, I always say it's really sad to see TNA dying, because it's like they're a joke. They've pushed their fans away. Their fans don't take them serious anymore. It's a revolving door of who's in control. They don't stick to what they know, what they do best. TNA is just, it's not a good brand. I mean, even Pro Wrestling Illustrated has no longer recognized TNA's world title or any of their championships as wrestling titles anymore. I mean, come on. I mean, really. This is the first time I actually say it's really done for TNA. I think the first sign of TNA really, you know what? I'm going to save that for another. I'm going to save that for a separate topic, a separate video. That gave me an idea for something. But moving on to the next half piece, I want to talk about Ethan Carter III, EC3. Despite the negative and terrible things that TNA continue to do, I like EC3. I liked EC3 since day one when he first came into the TNA company. From his little vignettes and the way he acts, I think he's a funny character. He's a funny heel. He's the best. Is he one of the best wrestlers, out in the scene right now? No. Is he one of the best promo talkers in the world? No. But he does a good enough job in what he does best. Given what they've given him, he's taken that EC3 character, that ball, and he's ran with it. I will give credit to, I think his name is Derek Bateman, or Derek Bateman was his stage name when he was in WWE. But I will give him credit that he's one of the few people in wrestling of this generation that takes a character, a persona, and identifies with it and takes it and makes you believe that is him. I think he's improved, from a character standpoint. Again, he's not a bad wrestler. He's decent. He's a decent wrestler. But I think he's a funny heel, and he is a decent character. One of the very, very tiny few bright spots on TNA currently, in the shithole that they're in right now. He won the world title. I thought that was a right choice by TNA. He's the only guy that they've been building up kind of properly over the last year. He cut, I thought, a really heartfelt and good promo on TNA's YouTube channel after he had won the world title from Kurt Angle. It was a passionate promo. I thought it was a really good promo. And I like to see people like him, who used to work within WWE, and WWE doesn't give a chance, and he finds some success elsewhere. The bittersweet part about it is that it's TNA, and he's going to be, hook, line, and center to that sinking ship for however long it'll last. But at least he's able to find some success. So I'm happy for him on that end. But I do like seeing wrestlers who, WWE say couldn't cut it. Guys like the Drew McIntyres, the Alberto Del Rios, and so on and so forth. How, once they leave WWE, the John Morrisons, and they prove the WWE naysayers wrong, that they can be talented, they can have good matches, they can wrestle, they can be believable. It reminded me of kind of like Drew McIntyre. When Drew McIntyre made his big return from in Insane Championship Wrestling, and he cut that awesome promo of being back. That's why I kind of felt like EC3 cut. It felt like that. Again, the difference is Insane Championship Wrestling isn't a sinking ship like TNA is. So that's the bittersweet part about it. But it was still, I thought it was a solid, heartfelt promo from EC3. Happy that he's world champion. And again, I like the EC3 character. A lot of people shit on it. Is he like main eventer kind of like material? Maybe not. I don't see him being like a badass heel kind of like thing. But I think he's an enjoyable, funny heel character. He's kind of a bit of a narcissist almost. So it's pretty funny, and I think he's improved a lot in his gimmick. Again, like I said, I don't think he's a bad wrestler. He's okay. He's probably equivalent to the Miz or something in terms of in-ring talent, which Miz isn't a bad wrestler. He's decent. But yeah, I just want to get my thoughts on these two topics. What do you guys think? Let me know what you think in the comment box below. Comment, subscribe. Peace.